Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. We know this verse. We've quoted it every time there's a battle, anytime there's a believer that is struggling, anytime this is the go-to verse of quoting it to him. It's like, don't be weary in well-doing. You still got to continue doing what you're doing, but you don't want to be weary in it, which means, be excited, be happy, don't be downtrodden. Well, the more you dive into this, it says, do not let us be weary, which means don't lose your heart. Don't lose your passion. Don't lose what God put in here for that season to accomplish. Do not lose your heart in well-doing. There was some times over the last few months in working through rezoning and property, this verse took on a whole new meaning. Don't be weary in well-doing, which means don't lose your passion. Don't lose the reason why we do what we do. We'll be rewarded. It says, let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we will reap if we faint not. So we're not losing our heart, we're not losing our passion in what we're doing for God. Because in due season, now we don't get to control the season. How many of you wish you could control the season? Oh yeah, if you're not raising your hand, I'm starting to question. Because every one of us want to control the season. But that's not our call. It says in due season, when the appropriate time, we don't get to rush harvest. Harvest happens in God's timing. It happens just the way you plant the seed, you water it, you let it grow for a little while, and all of a sudden it sprouts up, and you see this little bitty green thing stick out of the dirt and mud, and you're like, ooh, I need to harvest that now. No, you don't. Just because you see a little fruit, just because you see this right here, doesn't mean you harvest it. And you got to sit back and let it grow, and grow, and grow, and grow. And here's the scary thing. A lot of things don't produce fruit the first season. Peach trees don't produce fruit the first season. And even some of the fruit they do produce the second season, you got to toss. It's like, wait a second, Lord, this is supposed to be a happy service, and you're telling me I can't even reap the reward, the service is there. No, I'm telling you got to wait for God to tell you when to harvest. That's a little bit more challenging. That's the due season. There are things God's going to do in your life, and in due season, when He says it's time. Wow, okay, Lord. I remember there was you ever noticed if you work for Be in Health, and if you teach, let me rephrase that, if you teach within Be in Health, I learned something over the years. One of the first couple teachings I ever taught in Be in Health for 4 of my life were the two biggest things I dealt with. There's a weird plan there from God. I don't know how it works. I taught rejection, envy, and jealousy. Those were the two biggest things I need to deal with. And I was actually teaching envy and jealousy in 1 week and had a complete and total manifestation of envy and jealousy. Mom and Dad were actually having the house painted at Hickory. We were working on the inside of it, doing the whole faux wall thing in there by the staircase. And I don't remember where they were at. They were out of town, and I was really not doing well and in some envy and jealousy. And I called Dad and talked to him. He goes, well, it's not your season. I'm like, what does that mean? He goes, it's not your season. You got to wait. There are certain things that have to happen for you to get to this point. That's the season. If we what? Faint not. Which means it's not just about not losing your heart and your passion, but if you can keep doing well, doing the things that God calls you to do without losing your motive, without losing your heart, without losing your passion, you will be rewarded in the season that God deems necessary for you if you faint not, which means if you don't quit, you don't give up. You don't say, this isn't for me, I'm done, and walk away. Because if you walk away, that whole season of replanting has to start over when you come back.